Welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. This is Truth, Freedom, and Sophia, your host, Sophia. Shout out to super producer Cindy Ashby. All of our shows are live on onthewakeupradio.com. Also catch replays on SoundCloud, Google and Apple, Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at On the Wake Up Radio. Also support us at PayPal/onthewakeupradio@gmail.com. Check out our new streaming site, otwtube.com, where we have all of our uncensored content. You can register for free, upload videos, watch videos. It's all unbelievable content. So I definitely would check that out. Again, we're on Cash App at $ on the Wake Up Radio. And again, check us out at onthewakeupradio.com for all of our live shows. And I just want to say welcome tonight, everybody. I really appreciate you guys being with me. Tonight's topic is what does a man profit to gain the world and lose his soul? And the reason I'm choosing that as the headline is because I feel like we're at that precipice right now in our world. I feel like I look around every day. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to let my light shine everywhere it possibly can and be authentic to myself. But I find myself almost in this grieving process because I look around and I see the spiritual death of humanity going on. And I feel it's being welcomed. It's being welcomed by everybody, even people you just wouldn't ever even expect. And when you look back and you think about how did we get here, I mean, the path is quite easily seen. It truly is. All the truth coming out over the last years, those aren't things that just started coming out. Those are truths that a lot of people have known for a lot of years, and we've all have been trying to kind of figure out our own place in the world and what everything means. And I think that where we're at is a boiling point in history, where everything is coming to a head, where all of these questions and unknowns are being used against us because we all want the truth. We all crave the truth. Well, some of us do. And humanity isn't connecting with the truth right now, and it's by design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by saying we live in a sick society, and it's only getting sicker. They're programming everybody basically to be trapped in the ego, which essentially means you're becoming a narcissist. You look at people as a means to an end, and you're not valuing deeper aspects of humanity. This is, like I said, a program done by design. It started in the 1960s where MK Ultra started in all of the homes through the TV. And me and Zess talked about this in our show on Wednesday night, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. But it's a major aspect of this because when you think about why is everyone so easy to give up their rights right now? Why is everyone so quick to jab themselves with an experimental needle? Why is everybody willing to just go with the flow, even if the flow is totally against our morals, our values, and everything we stand for? And it's because they don't even realize it. It's been a slow drip of chipping away at their soul, of chipping away at their personality, at their identity. And that is part of the programming and the mind control. And maybe the mind control experiments and all of those things, all of those years of it being out there, being done on the masses, and now even more, it's little tablets, it's everywhere, it's propaganda everywhere. It makes you wonder if this is what all that was for, if it was for this time, if it was for everyone to take this jab without asking questions, no hands down, and this jab is going to be ultimately what you exchange your soul for. Because if this thing does cut us off from our true nature, our soul, our light, our shine, our divinity, then you are essentially a zombie, and a zombie is a mind control like body, basically. It's a mind controlled person. I'm gonna play this clip right now because it's gonna be a good way to kind of introduce and just jump off of from here. So let me set up this share. This is video share audio. Mm-hmm.
In 1948, there was a law passed so that our government couldn't use propaganda against its own citizens. In May 2012, 7 months before Sandy Hook, a Texan Republican introduced an act called H.R. 5736 Smith Modernization Act of 2012, which was an amendment to the 1948 bill, making it legal for the government to disseminate their own propaganda in America using the press, publications, the radio, motion picture films, the internet, and social media, while also giving themselves the power to put any propaganda they want directly into the archives, no questions asked, which means their lies and time will officially become history. We all know we've been already receiving propaganda through film and the mainstream media for decades, so you have to wonder what level they intend on taking it with this bill. This bill died in the Senate, but was brought up again as an amendment in the 2012 NDAA, found on pages 326 to 328. As stated on maxkaiser.com, it is the same exact bill except one word is left out. The article goes on to mention that Section B expressly allows the use of propaganda domestically as long as there is some possibility that at least one non-US citizen will eventually receive the given communication. This completely reminds me of the scene in the movie Wag the Dog, and if you haven't seen that movie, I strongly recommend it.
Crisiscast.com. It's a company that...
All right. Oh, sorry. So, I found that to be a really interesting piece of information. Why would they need to legalize propaganda? Why do they need to go through all of those extreme lengths? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Excuse me for that, guys. My phone went off earlier, and now a bunch of things are popping through. So why would the government need to make that legal? Why is that a big deal? Why do we need to even have propaganda? That shows that there's no integrity. Our government is a major farce. And what I know, I'm gonna play a lot of videos tonight because I'm here by myself, and I think that a lot of the research I like to just share it straight from the mouth of when I find a person that is explaining it really beautifully, because we don't live in the world we think we live in. We don't have the government we think we have. We don't have this whole, left and right. It's all a big lie. And that's the thing we all need to wake up to. And I believe there has been like this false awakening where I even became sort of a victim of it. I felt like, oh, I'm powerless over everything. Might as well, get voting, Trump in office and do all these things. And although we should pay attention, and politics is important because it does affect us. I mean, it drives policy, and policy affects us whether we partake or not. That's just the reality of it. But it's not really the true way to make change. And at the end of the day, these people, they're all serving under the same master. And it's the material world. It's the material world that's the master. It's not truth. It's not integrity. It's not love. It's not, camaraderie. It's not, this love for countrymen. It's not. It's truly self-serving. And all of the people who gravitate to those things, most of them, saying all is just ignorant, but most of them are self-serving. Most of them are props that have been put there. All of our actors, a majority of them, are connected straight to our military industrial complex, straight to our CIA. And what departments are they tied to? Oh, it's usually the propaganda departments. This word propaganda, it's very interesting. I'm going to actually pull up the exact definition of propaganda to see what it is, because I just went to the wrong thing. Because when we actually look at the word propaganda, I think, what would anyone need to use this for? And it's all for manipulation. And then you think, well, why do they need to manipulate us into getting us to think a certain way, or want to be part of whatever they're trying to, hype up? And it's interesting. So the actual definition of propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. So to me, the word propaganda is like specifically tied to politics, which shows you right there that It's all a glass house. It's all a glass house. None of it is real. They are not there to serve us. They're there to serve themselves. And the propaganda is to hijack your mindset, is to get you to keep feeding that system, to keep relying on that system, to keep thinking that system is what you need to get through your everyday life. Like, that is not what you need to guide you. And even our religion is not even based, our religious structures aren't even based on the organic, truth of it. That's all been propagandized against us for thousands of years. They've had to keep changing and manipulating information every time the master changes, and they want the masses to think a certain way. They change the religious information, they change the definitions of words, and that's the thing. Your words, if you can control words, you can control thoughts, because everybody thinks in, most people to themselves in words. Some people don't even think at all. But most people, words and eyes are what their ears and eyes is what their main senses are. They're not engaged with their other senses. So if you can feed them the right words with the right images at the right time, they're going to pick up the perception you want them to. They're going to pick up that frequency. Like, I noticed a lot in a lot of the movies of the TV shows and movies over the last few years. It's like sex scenes with blood and murder all in one, and it's always like bloody, gory mixed with murder, but with really classical, beautiful, like high lifting music in the background. But then the good scenes where you would want like that classical, because classical music really does open up the mind, open up the brain. And I'm going to get into music in the brain. I have a whole thing I'm going to share with you guys, because it matters. It matters what they're doing when they play with these tunes, with this music. They purposely put the higher consciousness music playing while you're watching, murderous blood scenes and sex at the same time. Because whether you are consciously saying to yourself, oh, wow, that's great, I accept that, it's not about a conscious thing. It is a subconscious thing. You're making agreements because your eyes, believe it or not, they change all your emotions and everything you're thinking. Your eyes change. They do all these different things. And all your brain, your neurological structure, all the chemicals in your brain, all these pathways open up when you hear a song. So listen, they play that song, they open up that higher minded part, but then they're infusing blood and gore into it with sex. That's them programming whoever's going to be pick up on it, which would be a majority of people nowadays, to get turned on by murderous blood and gore and sex and all of that. And that's really how it works. I probably massacred my way of trying to explain it, but that's the best I can do. And that's what they're doing to us. They're mishmashing everything. They're confusing, because they know that who's in the background all the time? The children. Who's more and more as the years go on, less and less, on the parents' mind? The children. Everything playing on that TV, the child is hearing and taking in, whether the child is sitting there watching it or not. The frequencies are floating around. And there's this whole, fact and science behind everything you do, everything you say has a vibration, affects your brain, affects essentially your entire body, down to your cellular level, down to your water chemistry, the vibrational aspect of your body, to a level of your water. There are all these water experiments where they say horrible things to the water, and then they freeze it, and then they put it under a microscope, and then they see the color, the shape of the snowflake, and it's always decrepit. But then they infuse it with beautiful words, beautiful things, and then they look at it under the microscope, and it's a beautiful shape. Well, that goes for your body, for your own water. You are 70% water. I think your blood is 90% water. So that definitely, the words the things you're taking in around you, what you surrounded yourself with vibrationally, the sights, the images, and the words, and the music, that all matters. And it's so funny that they don't teach us these things. They don't teach us to value these things or register these things, because if you start to think about these things, you start to link into a deeper aspect of life, a deeper part of you. And then it opens up more and more into the higher realms when you start caring about those things. Because if you think about it, you think, well, how much of things are out of my control and what truly is in my control? Is it that we've been living in the great inversion where the things we think are in our control truly are, and the things we think are in our control truly aren't, and everyone's stuck in this rat race of trying to control everything that they can't and not giving a flying fuck about the things that they should to really thrive and live happily and healthily and have a real clear mind, healthy body, and a happy spirit to truly thrive. If you actually live within and have that clarity, you'll see the system for what it is, and nobody will need it because we'll realize that system needs us. We just need each other. All we need is each other. We just need to unify. Enough with the bullshit. But everything right now and everything has been a great division. So it's been a process of dividing, inverting, right? Demoralizing, confusing. It's all about confusion right now. It's a confusion campaign. What they say is science isn't science. What we say is science, they say is not science. Okay? Scientific method is you have a hypothesis. Then you write down theories and then you do experiments to prove the hypothesis. What these people do is they have an end result they want. And then they figure out ways to manipulate everything to get the end result versus allowing it to truly organically happen. Because their information, the stuff that they're pushing on us, the stuff that they want us to open our hearts and minds up to are garbage. It's trash. So they have to mind swipe you. They have to mind trick you. They have to put all this glitz and glam on you. They have to get you to be focused on material things and focused on, thinking that looking a certain way, having a certain lifestyle, having a certain car, having a certain bag gives you some sort of connection with other humans. That's another false lie. If you need to be outside of your true identity to be accepted by people, then that's all an illusion. That is all a lie. None of it is reality. What makes something real is something that is irreplaceable. So if you are replaceable, if things in your life are replaceable, if everything in your life can be replaced by something more that's more expensive, or that by something, if anything, it's not real. It's not valuable. It doesn't truly matter to you. So you don't even view yourself as mattering because you are replaceable, because you're trying to always be someone else. So you keep replacing more and more of you, more and more of you. That's what this whole process is from birth to death. It's just to chip away at you, chip away at you, chip away at your light, your spirit, drain you, suck you dry, feed off you. That's what it all is. And when we start really seeing that another realm exists that feeds off of us, when we let these things just rile us up and drive our lives and our wants, our needs, and desires, we're giving ourselves over. We're handing ourselves on a silver platter. We're like lambs to the slaughter. And it's, to me, I'm not going to live that way. I'll eat grass in the woods before I ever do something like that. And I'm going to tell you this. We don't need to eat food the way we think. Our relationship with food is part of this as well. They changed our food about 6,000 years ago. They started manipulating grains to make, I think, things more dense, to affect our bodies differently, to slow us down differently, to metabolize differently. And that changes everything, changes your hormonal structure, your endocrine system, and your brain balance and everything. And so we are not. This is what I mean. When they tell you that we're evolved from monkeys and we're like, man, this is the greatest achievement, it's a fucking bullshit lie. We're the worst evolved state that you can be in. And I don't say that in like some apathetic way. No, we're divine. We'll always be divine unless you give your divinity away like people are doing. But we are still divine, but we are extremely devolved. We are, and I'm going to open up those parts of my genetics again. I'm going to open up those pathways in my brain. I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to evolving, to truly evolving and being the true human. None of us are living as the true human. We're all living under obligation, under this, under that, under stress, under this. And yes, we're all doing our best. Some of us are thriving, and I'm not saying that, all of that means everyone's living unhappy. No, because through all of that, you can still be happy. You can still live with stress, aggravation, the lying government, the false illusion of Hollywood, the false illusion of everything, and somehow still be happy because you can just choose it. You could choose it. You can choose it by saying, I'm going to realize that I'm going to perfect me. And and if you have children like me, I'm going to try and model my best self for them. So their eyes are seeing, because like we said on last week's show, I would love if you guys could catch that if you haven't. The first 7 years of life, you don't need to teach your child a thing. You don't have to actually sit down and say, child, this is this. They learn everything through what they see, because the windows are the eyes to the soul, and they're taking in everything through those windows, and they're feeding their soul, and they're conversating with their soul, and that's what's happening. So when you start giving them bad information, ugly, this, stupid, negative, anything just negative, the soul starts getting weighted more with those heavy words, with those ugly words, and it just really does damage. And just what they see. So if they're seeing their mom dressed, all sexy and bringing different guys home, well, that they're gonna think that that's okay. Or if they see, it's their birthday and their mom says, "Hey, I brought this drag queen to come and striptease for you on your 5th birthday," that's gonna be like, what's going on? Because that's what's going on sometimes. Yeah, I just switched it up on you guys real quick, because that's what's going on sometimes, because it is a demoralized society. It is a planned agenda, and everyone's just taken to it because nobody wants to offend anyone. Well, I'm offended. I'm offended that my values and my children and all the children of the world aren't being considered. So a reason I'm going to transition into this for a second, because drag queen story out. Excuse me, I'm just adjusting my chair. Drag queen story out. Okay, when I first heard this, I thought it was a joke. When I first saw the pictures, I thought that it was really just crazy right-wing people trying to rile up parents against the LGBT community. I had no idea what this was, so I really looked into it. And I called my sister, who was a librarian, and I said, "Hey, did you ever hear this?" She goes, "Oh yeah." I said, "Heck no," to review. I was like, "Oh my god, they really do that?" Drag queen story out. Now, nothing wrong with drag queens. I've gone to drag shows. Not saying anything against that. But why does it need to be in a library? And why does it have to be directed for an age group of young children? And why do they need to read it to them? Like, what's the whole psychological reasoning for that? No one ever asked that. And if you did, you were immediately shunned, labeled a bigot. Now it just comes out, and this is what I'm leading up to. Because every person who said that makes no sense, only a pervert would think that's normal. Only a pervert would want to read stories to a child dressed up in drag, right? And everyone says, "Oh, you can't think like that. You can't just label anyone perverts." No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't just do labels, but we should proceed with caution when people want to radically, expose our children to something that's just really confusing or strange and just not, I don't think, healthy. And one of the judges, who I have to make reference to it, who is gay, who has an adopted father of 2, who pushed this in Minnesota. No, I'm sorry, Wisconsin. I always say one when I need to say the other. Wisconsin, and he was just arrested for child pornography. He uploaded 27 pornography videos of young little children as young as toddler age. And this man has his own 2 young adopted children. This is disturbing, but is it surprising? I wasn't surprised. But this isn't the end of that. We're gonna hear more and more stories like this. We do. 2 weeks before that, you heard another one. And it's just like, why do we not see this coming? This is where we need to start protecting our children, our values. And again, it's not about what the person is. No, we're all humans. We all have our whatever that we are. But why does it need to be in a library to children? There's an agenda there. If that's something they need to do. And then you have to ask what the agenda is. But nobody ever wants to. That's disturbing that they don't want to, because asking that since the 1960s. So here's a question I just got, and it's a great question. I'm glad you asked. How long do you think propaganda has been implemented in the masses? Since the 1960s, and thank you for bringing that up, because now I'm going to play a video for you guys, and it's going to blow your mind, because it's going to show you. Actually, if you can give me a quick second, I guess. Oh, I got it right here. Yeah, it's going to show you perfect how they started implementing this in the 60s, and every night they would sign off playing America the Great, or "Oh, say, can you see?" And they were using this for mind control to program, and I'll show you a video breakdown of the exact, video that they played. It's quite interesting. So let me just screen share this so you guys can see. It's so alarming. All right, so here we go.
The national anthem, which was the sign-off on television stations across the nation back in the 1960s.
Our national anthem.
Now we're going to go ahead and watch this national anthem again, only this time we're going to watch it slowed way down. Tell me if you notice anything different from the last time you watched it.
And was like, wow.
Did you see the letters change at the bottom? Let's watch it again in even slower frame by frame motion.
Trust the U.S. government. It flashes across before the real words. It's incredible.
It happens so quickly you can barely see it. But you aren't meant to physically, literally see it. You are meant to subconsciously see it. It is meant to go into the subconscious and implant itself into your brain on a subconscious level. And this continues throughout this entire national anthem, and it becomes basically like the script for the movie They Live.
Yep, it is actually. It's interesting. The next one begins with God. God. I did that when I watched it live, and it says, God is real, or something like that. Like, God is real, God is watching. God is real, God is watching. Yeah. Catch that? Believe in government, God. See, they're fusing government with God. Rebellion will not be tolerated, and it gets even worse. Obey, consume, obey, consume. That's pretty much where we're at right now. Yeah, that's where we're at. It's incredible. So you see, you get the gist of that. And let me give credit to, I found that video on ODD TV, and I found a real lot of really good videos. That guy did some really good videos, so I'd check that out. I just don't want to take credit for anyone else's work, but that's where I got that documentary from, and it has all these different clips of different, a lot of different real examples of how they did this to the masses. And you think they stopped? When they got caught, they didn't stop. They got better. They got flawless. As technology got better, as humanity grew and things got better, that stuff got better. You think when they move from analog to digital, or however it goes, it's probably even stronger now. The things are probably just fusing straight into the subconscious. They don't even need to do the words. It's just like does its own job. Who knows? We have to realize, though, that we are being bombarded with programming. It's not like someone's telling you, oh, you got to do this, but they are in other ways, right? No, but that's what people think, right? They think that it's like this seance type of MK Ultra, but that's not how they do it. They do it by repetitive. So every day, if you're listening to certain kind of music, they're driving a message into your head by licking you. So what they do is they basically get you to exchange your true identity for someone else's brand of an identity. So then you take on that brand of an identity. I'm going to just throw this out there because Cardi B's out there. She won Woman of the Year last year. Her nasty ass song was performed at the Grammys. CNN labeled it a sex positive performance. I called that a porno simulation because that's what it was. And she is no woman of no year. She's nothing. She's horrible. No one should aspire to be that. And I don't mean that to say in a derogatory way. I mean that because she sold out women. She sold out young girls. She sold out young ladies who could have looked up to her and saw her as a role model, but she said instead she's telling them to be prostitutes and never aspire to use their brain, their intellect, or anything else, to only use their body, which they should be protecting and guarding and valuing with every bit of them. But it's not about that. That's because that's not what these people truly want. They don't really want to be role models. They want the money. That's why they're picked. They don't pick the person who wants a message heard by the world and bring unity and bring these people together. They don't want that. They want the person who's going to do whatever they want them to, who's going to get on their knees, going to do whatever they for money. And everybody, the billionaire program went out, I'd say about 20 years ago, where they started programming everyone's goal, who was a millionaire. They're programming billionaire. That's the status, you want to be billionaire. So everyone's driven by billionaire status. And then everyone's from their lower class, millionaire status. It's all about money. They want you to lust after lifestyle, after material things. And you are exchanging your soul because you can't tell me these people aren't bypassing little things all the time that they could have done something. They could have done something. And they choose not to because they don't want to get penalized and possibly lose that connection to whatever it is that they're wanting from the people that they're not, willing to say anything about. And it really sucks. It sucks that that's a majority of people nowadays, but that was the programming. The programming, they flash money in front of us. Like when I was a young girl, I was a teenager, I remember we were obsessed with our boyfriends. We drove around listening to the song Toxic, and our boyfriends treated us like shit. They literally were toxic. And then we were driving around complaining about it, but then listening to a song that celebrated toxic relationships and a toxic boyfriend. Right? It shows you that's the programming. That is the MK Ultra. That is the monarch. But that is the monarch programming. That's the monarch butterfly programming, where you are doing everything against yourself, against your soul that you would think is respectful or valuable. But you're inviting it in. You're celebrating it. You see, that's how they get you to do the exchange. And it's flawless. And that's why you have to get smart about these things. You have to get the spiritual awareness, because it's so weird. I've had those, times where I'm always spiritually linked, but I've had, momentary falls off the wagon where I'm not working so much on that. And you see the difference about the clarity in your vision, how clear you see things, how easy you see the manipulations, the schemes all around you. And not saying that it's scary, but it is scary. It is scary because I saw a video of a woman in Texas who Texas has no mask mandates anymore. The governor lifted it, said no more mandates. So I went into the bank thinking it was hunky-dory okay to go in without a mask. And the security guard manhandles her, throws her on the ground, treats her like a vagrant piece of crap. And there's other men, everyone's just standing around looking like nobody wants to get involved. Oh, nobody wants to, I don't want to mess up my day. I'll get myself, help a woman. No, there's no humanity in a lot of these people anymore. And that's a lot of, I think, the true awakening is awakening to that. And that was a great, kind of epiphany we came to at the end of our show Wednesday night, is that the hero programming that they program into the people who live by their heart. They know how to find you. They know how to get you. That's what the movies are for. You are going to watch the things you're attracted to. So the more you're attracted to a movie, right? Like they're programming your mind through your natural attractions, and then they hijack it, and then they control the flow. And they did this. I'm going to tell you where they did this. They started this early Christianity, and here I go. I'm going to get into religion a little bit, so bear with me, because this matters. It matters to me because I love Jesus. I'm a true Jesus follower, but I don't follow religion because the religion is based off of a false deity. and it's a totally wrong thing. So I'm still on that journey of figuring out who the true Jesus was, but he was a man showing us we're all divine. He was a man living what we all should be living, and they turned him into a person that we can't attain to be by separating us and saying he was a divinity and we are not. So I'm going to play a little clip because I am not denouncing Jesus by playing this, but I'm showing how when people start growing, the movement starts and people start freeing themselves mentally, intellectually, and spiritually, the emperors become very slick. They don't just go and slaughter, they do it for a while, but they realize at some point they do need the love of the people. So they start to manipulate the information that those people love, the deities they love, the religion, they manipulate it, they water it down, they hijack it, and they turn it into something it's not. So I'm only going to play literally this 20-second clip because it's just going to give you a little gist of what I'm saying. I mean, I hope it portrays what I'm trying to say. So just give me a quick second so I can pull that up. Because these are the type of things I've been studying, I'd say at least 20 years. I started with religion, and religion will always, not religion, but spiritual wisdom. It will always be the thing that I go back to because it's the core. It's the core of our world.
Jesus' followers were fed to wild animals for Roman entertainment. Then, as the story goes, the Roman Emperor Constantine had a vision of the cross, which inspired him to adopt Jesus as his savior. As a result, the West became Christian. But did Constantine really convert to Christianity? Or are modern Christians worshiping a version of Jesus created by a die-hard pagan? Decoding.
All right, so sorry, I had to pause it. So you get that's a good way to kind of open that up because that's what happened. After Jesus died, for at least 100 years or 200 years, there were all these different pop-up, I wouldn't say religious groups. There were just these little pop-up followers, devotees. Who were, it was a freeing religion. It wasn't religion. Jesus was anti-religion. Sorry, I have to say that. Jesus was anti-religion. The actual things that he truly preached. I have the Dead Sea Scrolls, which aren't from Jesus, but they're from the Essenes. And the Essenes are the precursors to the Gnostics. And these are the people that Jesus actually came from. Jesus, they believe, was an Essene. And this is the true knowledge he was trying to tell everyone, all of man, is this spiritual knowledge, this higher spiritual wisdom. And this is what was growing. And Constantine saw, after, feeding Christians to, we saw lions and all that, saw that they were in his army. He had Christian soldiers in his army, and they were not fighting for him. So he was losing against another emperor who they were battling with. So in my opinion, in my research, he concocted that to make the Christian soldiers, who were a majority of the Roman army at that time, and even though it might sound weird, weren't they persecuting Christians? The archaeological evidence, I've done a lot of research into this, shows that even though they still were in the armies, they still were living as everyday citizens, living out their days. They were doing it to specific people as, to make examples of, and it was just disgusting. We know that, but that's the truth. They were in the army, and there's a lot of proof of that. So he concocted that to get them re-inspired, to devote to him, to believe him. And then what did he do over, the course of 30-something years? He deifies himself. He changes Jesus into the exact replica of Mithra, which there was a Mithra cult. That's who Constantine, that was his religion. And it was a very, strange cult, but born of a virgin on December 25th, crucified on a cross, buried, risen after 3 days, born of a virgin. It's all of that. And that's why we know that who was the true Jesus? What was his true life? Well, I did a lot of research into it. I've read a lot of books. It's very interesting. Jesus is not the religious figure that everyone thinks he is. He's just the true human. The true human. That's what I think. I think Jesus was the true human, showing us our divinity lived out in flesh, because they say also that Jesus was the Word. But we have to take the Bible with a grain of salt, knowing that how much it's been diluted, it's been retranslated, mistranslated. You can take one word, translate it from one language to another, and change the whole meaning just by misinterpreting the way you're reading it in the sentence, because the language from ancient times to now is not the same. That's why it's very important, that they control our language right now, and they control our words and everything, because they'll control your thoughts, they'll control your perception through your words, so how you speak to yourself, how you speak to others, all of that language. It's training you. It's creating a language matrix, and you're agreeing, you're making agreements with things when you say those words, when you speak things. To speak is exerting some sort of energy. So anything you give energy to, you're giving life to. So whatever words you exert out of your mouth is the energy in life you're giving those words. So we have power in our words. A lot of people don't have much life in them anymore, so their words probably have nothing. They're just like, they're like little farts going around. Some of us are like, guitar. But that's just how it is, because those people don't care. They're not caring about spiritually fueling up and charging. They're just saying whatever they think will make them sound this way, whatever they think will get that result. Well, we got to stop living like that, because the cost is your soul. Cost is truth. The cost is everything. If you don't have your soul, you are a slave. That's what the ultimate cost is. That's why they need your soul, your spirit, your divine self. They need you gone. That's why when you're young, they do program you. They split your personality. They create a version of you that they control, called the ego. The ego, in its natural, true nature, is not something that hates you, wants worse for you. It's supposed to help guide you. It's supposed to pop up in certain times for a specific reason. But instead, they figure out a way to split up the personality, young, create that ego. And that's the ego. That's the part of you that they direct. That's the part of you usually that's in control all the time. That's steering the wheel. And it is a split personality. And we are all living in some weird state, and to some degree, some deeper than others. Some of us are like pretty much coming out of it. We're right there at the surface. We're trying to like pop our heads through the water. I'm sorry, I'm so animated. But that's the truth. That's how it is. I hope everyone's, following along tonight. Good. I hope I've held your interest. These truly are the things that I am into, and the things that I research, because to me, it's important. It feeds my soul. It makes me connected and open. And I've been doing so much kind of visual work, language work within myself today when I showered. I didn't just do a visual. I actually I spoke to my chakras. I said, activate, open, streams of red, streams of, I said the colors, because I really think if we start using our power, we'll see the power get stronger. And I don't say power in an egotistical way or an arrogant way. Like, yeah, I'm going to be powerful, more power than you know. I mean, power to have real freedom in life. That's what I mean when I say power. So let me give that disclaimer. I don't mean power over anybody. I mean power over yourself. That's the other aspect of this too. They've got everybody wanting power over everyone else and not themselves. That's why they can't have you having your own perception, because your perception will pick up or question their lies. And if you are able to question their lies, then they're confronted with truth. But if they can convince you to convince yourself to accept the lie and take on the lie, that's what we're in the process of, is they're getting everyone to take on the lies, all of the lies around us. I can go through the whole list of them, but there's just so many, just lies everywhere. I want to play one more clip, because I love talking about Hollywood, so I saved it for last, because Hollywood is just truly the arm of the devil. The arm of the devil. So when you guys hear about selling your soul to the devil, they're talking about the Faustian bargain. So I'm going to play you a really interesting little backstory about that and where that comes from. And I think you guys would get I think you'll like that. I think you'll find it interesting. So let me pull that up. Here we go. Here we go.
On Georg Faust, a German astronomer, alchemist, and magician from the mid-1400s. Just decades after his death, he became the subject of a folk legend where a man makes a pact with the devil in exchange for worldly pleasures and unlimited knowledge. This legend has had many adaptations over the centuries, leading all the way up to today.
Huh?
Oh man,
Gross.
excuse
Don't
me.
you hate sleeping on filthy, gross
Yeah.
bed sheets?
In fact, there is a 1994 Faust movie by Jan Zvankmajer. On the cover for the movie, the Faust character is using his hand to cover up one of his eyes. Very interesting, right? Being that we constantly see this among famous people, Hollywood icons. Pop music stars. The fashion industry.
That goes on for a few minutes, just showing all the different celebrities and why would they use that symbolism when there's so much ties to that one thing, the Faustian bargain, which is selling your soul to the devil for material gains, for the world, to gain the world, to have power on this earth. And I gotta say, I'm just realizing this, like, don't know why it didn't click before, but when I received confirmation, my saint name was Faustina. Yeah, I chose that. I really chose that too. I looked through like millions of names, and that was the name I chose. So that creeped me out just now. When I saw the title of the movie, it was like Faustina. I'm like, ah! But why would they use that symbolism with that direct line? And that documentary actually starts with a movie showing basically it's very parallel to like the characters about like Marilyn Manson and his life and what he probably did, and it's how like he probably sold his soul to the devil. Now these other, they all do. That's the truth. In the movie Doctor Sleep, based on true kids, okay, they do these rituals. Sorry, my kid just came in the room and it totally threw me off. So I have to get up and walk into my daughter. Uh, these movies are based on the real rituals. They do this to children. They perform a ritual in that movie, right, where they kidnap a boy in a cornfield, and they gruesomely murder him, to suck his, they call it shine that these children have, which is children who have like a spirit, a psychic kind of aspect to them. And they find these young, they cross the country like hunting these kids who have shine so that they can murder them and suck their shine out and live forever as these lifelong demons. And the way they murdered this boy, they people sell their soul so that they have this power to do so, to live forever. It's part of the ritual. So they murdered this boy, but here's the thing: this boy was murdered exactly replicated after a real ritual that was done to another boy in the 1500s, and I forget the name of the town. It was like Russian, where the Jewish Khazars, and this is where the blood libel came from, where these ancient people, not ancient, I'm sorry, these people were practicing this ancient religion, hiding with another religious group under that same name, and they were kidnapping children of a different religion and doing these rituals with them, and they were driven out of the town. These are the people they called the Khazars. You can do research on that. I'm not going to say much more because we're not allowed to. get kicked off. But why would they put that in the movie? It's a direct replica of this exact thing that happened to this real boy, a real story. Why? Because they really do these things and they want to tell us. So I want to play one more video because it's from a researcher who I have a lot of respect for, Jordan Maxwell, and he explains the link between the Druids, which I talk about all the time, how it's black magic. It's an ancient Druidic magic that they're using, or a form of it. It's just like a upgraded version or a futuristic version of it. And he kind of explains it really well. So I'm going to share this last clip. Wait, let me just make sure I clicked audio. So I'm going to stop share screen. Excuse me. All right, here we go. All right.
For instance, let me give you an example. In the old Celtic Druidic system in Northern Europe, what we would call the white man's established system in Northern Europe, there was a very powerful priesthood called the Celtic Druids. And in the Druidic Celtic system, one of the most important symbols in that system, that ancient system, and we're talking about even 500 to 1,000 years before the Roman Empire, the Celtic Druidic system was in operation in Northern Europe. One of their most important symbols has come down to us today, and that is the magic wand, like Merlin, the magician with his magic wand, Mickey Mouse with his, and the conductor of an orchestra with his magic wand, Fantasia.
It's my
The
last
magic
name.
wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It was always made out of Hollywood. Consequently, they're still working their magic in Hollywood because the holly tree, that was very sacred to the ancient magicians, the ancient Celtic Druid magicians. All of our governmental superstructure in America, and listen closely to this, all of our governmental arrangements in America, all of our religious institutions in the Western world, all of our governmental laws, jurisdictional laws, regulations, codes, all of these things which govern the Western civilization are Druidic. They are absolutely Celtic Druidic system. And unless you understand the Celtic Druidic system and the old ancient Egyptian, Sumerian, Babylonian, Phoenician, Canaanite system, understand there's been a huge, enormous amount of material that has been covered up so that people just go all about their daily business to their synagogues and to churches and never ever question where any of these things are coming from. And Martin Luther King said it best, that there will be no peace where there is no justice. Everyone realizes the implications of that. If there is no justice, there's not going to be any peace. So I am saying that what we need to do is take a whole new look at who we are in this country and what it is we believe about ourselves and believe about God, and start showing respect for other people.
So I felt like that was a perfect clip kind of to end on and give my last thoughts on, because that's what this is all about. It's about taking back the narrative. They've been keeping the peace by keeping us blind, keeping us dumb. And it's just going to get worse. Like, they're not keeping us dumb and we're like kind of staying in the stagnant state. No, we're in a declining state. We're not in like this evolution of man, like I said before, this Darwinism where man's conquering Earth. No. We're in the worst evolved state a person can be in. We used to be magical. We used to not have to even speak to each other with words to communicate because we were so connected as human beings that words are the lowest form of communication, to be quite honest. It is the lowest form of communication. We shouldn't have to speak words. You only speak words when there's confusion. And confusion is not of God. So anytime there's confusion in words, they only do that. Most people, I bet, would probably have no problem if they communicated without words. And I know that's saying, like, how is that possible? But when you understand the importance of a look, the importance of eye contact, you realize we don't need to actually verbalize things sometimes. It really is just about connecting. And you know if someone understands you by the way they look at you when you are speaking to them. You can tell by a look, because the eyes are the window to the soul. They truly are. And we have to start thinking about these aspects. Why do they, here's the thing I do want to bring up. This is important. My whole life, I was raised, my mom decided after she, went crazy, she decided all of a sudden, like, she was going to, become a born-again Christian. So she threw herself into it and became, which is great. It's great when people make a turnaround in their life. I don't ever say that stuff is bad, but you have to at some point see the controlling aspect of it. You got to use things for what they are. You have to see things for what they are, take what you can from it, but not make it your life, not make it your belief system, your practice, your guidance. You can't. You have to have discernment and see through these things. And sadly, most people don't, so they get stuck. And that's what the point of these religions are, these churches. Even though I'm not saying the pastors know and these people are all knowing it. No, saying the system. These people learn from a college as well. They go through a system. They go through a whole training, and they're programmed and they're told what to say by higher up pastors and higher up pastors. So I'm not saying it's just like, every day, malicious plan, but it is a way to get you stuck, to keep you thinking as yourself, as a thing that can never be perfected. So you need to, go to Jesus and give everything to him because you don't have the power. I don't like that. Anything that teaches that, I don't know, something about it doesn't feel right. And a lot of those things. But anyways, because she was into that, I used to be attracted to a lot of things. I would wear an ankh around my neck. I would wear a green alien around my neck. But she made me throw all that stuff out, and she became cuckoo. And I was really into astrology, and she always got on me about that. And I still love it because I knew the truth. But here's what they do. They hijack these things, and they either use it against you or use it as a way to make or tell you it's evil, so you can never actually see the truth of something. So they either use it to you in the lowest form that it is, which is what they have out there by the daily horoscopes and that, or they get you by making you think it's just evil and you shouldn't bother with it because you're opening up, bad things. But really, if you understood the planets, the effect that they have on you, like when you understand, say, how you vibrationally have an effect on your inner body, how your words hold a vibration, you think about these things. I always say it, we're a micro of the macro. So then you have to think in the macro aspect, how are the bigger things affecting me? How are these bigger aspects affecting me? And you have to have a relationship to all of these things. But instead, they get you distracted and you build relationships with all these false things. So you're not building relationships with things that help you grow, things that help you learn, that get you in a higher state of mind. Everything that they get you to link in with is everything that takes you outside of your true identity. And that's the whole point. They're distractions. That's why I say it's theme park culture, because the theme park is to keep you from getting to know yourself. So they need you distracted by all of these other things, all of these other identities that you think might, get better attention than you, or have, a better voice than you, or whatever. I don't know why people don't want to be who they are, because they think that all these other things, make them look a certain way. So as they get you distracted and making relationships with everything that doesn't add up to anything real. And it's sad, because at the end of the day, when people lay their head down on their pillow at night and they're sad and they're lonely and they're depressed and their house is beautiful and it's clean and they've got the dog and they've got the husband and they've got the good job and they've got a stable income, they've got all this stability and all these great things, but something is still missing. There's still an emptiness. There's still a silence within them, a disconnect. Well, I can tell you what that disconnect is. None of those, not saying any of those things are bad in that person's life. It's that the reason that person attained all of those things or desired all of those things was probably not because of an authentic want, need, and desire that came from the authentic self, the true self, the self that is spiritually connected, came from the outside. The program that told her that those are the things that make you happy. So those are the things you need to have. So when she's getting dressed at night, the motivation is to meet a guy. You know what I mean? It's not because the guy is the next step after, college, after the stable job. The next thing is the guy. So it's like, wow, everything is motivated by an outside driver source. And that's what's wrong. And it's wasting our energy. It's draining our life forces. It's draining people's life force. And I think that death is an agreement we make. I don't think we truly need to die like that. I think that I have acceptance of death, and I believe we graduate. We do go on, but what if we don't need to truly die to go on to that other realm? What if we just need to evolve and not truly die? What if death is truly an agreement? Because we think, this is just what we do now. Like when someone gets shot, right? What's the difference between the person who gets shot 50 times and survives, and then the person who gets like a shot through the little shoulder and they die? What's the difference? Is it that the person who got shot here was like, oh, I'm shot, I'm dead. I mean, like, inside, or because the program, or the person who got shot 50 times lives because they're like, no, I'm not dying. No, it's all about, I think, what we believe and what agreements we make when things happen to us. We do make instant agreements. We do make instant kind of contracts almost, because that's why I hate labels so much. You can't call someone a label. You can't say I'm a this or a that, because I'm not just that. So what comes with is calling yourself that? All these other things that you're not. So you're just going to take on all those other things that you're not because a label gives you some sort of status or a perception of yourself that you think makes you look the best. So we have to start asking ourselves these questions, and that's what I'm here to do in this show. It's not to say, oh, I was talking about this stuff, which means I perfect it. I ask myself these things every day. Sometimes I have to ask my own self, am I being delusional when I interact with people? Because we're not perfect. We're all works in progress. I intend to work and be a progress every day. Do I always progress? No, absolutely not. Man, I had times where I was like a screaming mom, and I had to like do like real work on that to calm it down, because I grew up with a screaming mom. But because I never wanted to be the screaming mom, when I caught myself getting in a bad habit, I stopped it. I did the work. I created new habits. I opened up a new pathway in my brain that learned how to react appropriately and not like a lunatic. But I did it. But I owned it. I had to recognize it. I could say, oh, because I know a lot of things about being a good mom. Does that make me a perfect mom? No. So you have to, that's like the thing we all have to start doing too, is asking ourselves these things, looking within, saying, where am I pretending to be perfect where I'm not? Because that's ultimately, I think, our downfall is everyone's trying to pretend they're perfect, or they're this version of themselves that they're truly not. And to keep that up is exhausting, and it's killing everyone. It's killing their health. It's creating chemical imbalances. It's creating even more disconnect, probably even more splits in the personality, even more compartmentalized personalities, because that's what ends up happening. You end up becoming different people to different people. So when you're in this setting, you're that person. So that's one compartmentalized personality. Then you go to your job and you become the job person. Then you go to your home and you're your home person. And it's not about not being any of those people. It's about integrating them all. If those are all true aspects of you, you've got to figure out how to let them be in harmony. Because compartmentalization, it means blockage, means closed off, means disharmony. So I'll end there. I really appreciate you guys being with me tonight. Remember, you can catch all of our replays on SoundCloud, Google, and Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at On the Wake Up Radio. Also follow me, Sophia Giordano, on Instagram, and I have my Facebook page, Truth, Freedom, and Sophia. Don't forget to donate to PayPal at onthewakeupradio@gmail.com. We're also on Cash App, $ On the Wake Up Radio. Check out our new streaming site, OTW Tube. Cindy Ashby, super producer, puts all of her heart and soul into giving us a place to come together, to speak authentically without being censored, where we can truly take back the narrative and really unite as human beings, express ourselves. There's nothing, no one should ever not be able to authentically express their true life experience. It matters. It's worth something. It's valuable. And if it goes in direct, opposite of what you believe in life, that is not their problem. That is your problem. And we have to start realizing that everyone is valued and respected. And the reason people don't want to be themselves, the reason people don't feel comfortable standing strong in their true identity and their true authentic self is because we've set up such an environment where we don't value it, where we don't feed it, where we only show attention to the false self, to the ego, the part of us that is never going to connect us spiritually and give us true thriving in life and true growth in life and true love for ourselves. I'll end it there, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.